สู่โลกกว้างใหญ่มาเถิดมาด้วยกันเปิดโลกใบใหม่ที่มีเธอมีฉันโลกใบนี้จะมีอะไรรอให้เราได้เจอตรงนั้นไปกับฉันนะเธอ
So what is the theme for the ambassador for this year and how different will it be from the last year? But the COVID still be there.
So Burin, the theme for this year focuses on gender equality and climate change. And it is aligned with the theme for the International Women's Day celebration in 2022, which also focuses on which is titled about gender equality for a sustainable tomorrow, right? So the purpose of this year's theme is to hear more about what young people, young women and men have to say about how climate change impacts them, their lives, and how it plays itself out or across the range of issues from how does from carbon emissions, right, to protecting habitats, species, forests, forest lands and wetlands, to even issues of disaster, how disaster impacts women, right? We saw floodings in the northern and the eastern province of the country, and the central province of the country as well in October of last year. And you know how flooding can disrupt lives for women, their livelihoods, their access to basic services, right? So the purpose of this theme is to understand from the perspective of a gender lens how climate change impacts individuals, families, and communities. So that's the way we have framed the campaign this year.
So it's look like it will be more difficult for the applicant for express about the International Women's Day and climate change and also gender equality. How these factors related to each other?
Burin, that's a very interesting question. All these themes are interrelated in many ways. Gender equality as an SDG goal happens to be the goal that focuses on issues of empowerment of women and non-discrimination, right? And our understanding is that it's very important to address issues of gender equality if we want to advance SDG goals, especially goals that are related to climate change. That is goal 11 to goal 15, right? So unless you get gender equality right, you're not going to get any of these SDGs right? So that's the premise that we are working on. We are also working on the premise that in the context of Thailand, we are working on the premise that younger people need to start sharing their perspectives on the kind of meaningful action and meaningful solutions that can be brought to bear to complex issues such as climate. Climate change is a complex issue. So Burin, this time we are co-hosting the Ambassador Day camp program. The United Nations along with the Ambassador of Belgium are co-hosting it together and bringing the ambassadors and the women heads of UN agencies together to lead the whole program. Next year we are hoping that we can have a similar collaboration with one of the women ambassadors along with one of the UN agencies who co-lead and offer their leadership in taking this taking the Ambassador Day program together. We are hoping that we can sustain it over the coming years and continue to create this opportunity for young people to engage, interact and learn from the top diplomats as well as the top diplomats learning from these young people as well.
See, there still be a room for the opportunities to expand to be the larger and larger campaigns in the future. What about the other countries? Do you have any plan for expanding to the other regions or in the regional level as well?
So Burin, we are going to take you up on this offer of taking it to other countries as well. And I'm sure that this is going to spread by the word of mouth as ambassadors and heads of women heads of UN agencies move on to the next posting. They're going to carry this experience to the country that they go in, and I'm sure we are going to see this program sprouting in many other countries across the Asia Pacific and beyond.
So it's not right reserved. So any country can be
Absolute.
create these campaigns as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And maybe in the future we can collaborate all together
Absolutely.
in the bigger area.
Absolutely,
Wow, that's
absolutely.
going to be great. So I'm going to hear in the future of the progress of these campaigns. And why is the importance of the youth to speak up, especially on the sustainability issues?
You know, youth shape the future of any country, and that's true for Thailand as well. Youth have agency, youth have new ideas, and we have to leverage their minds and their resources, the resources that they bring to bear into a country's policy making process. And similarly for the United Nations, we want to be able to leverage them much more and engage with them much more. Their voices are important, and at the United Nations we have taken this seriously, and we are institutionalizing spaces for young people to share their perspectives, their voices, and we have something called the SDG Youth Panel that meets every quarter, where young people have an opportunity to share their perspective with heads of UN agencies on a regular basis. And
Just for Thailand?
Just for Thailand. And we are also institutionalizing a dialogue with civil society on an annual basis, which will again create that space for multiple players to engage with a host of stakeholders. So as a stakeholder, we believe youth are extremely important. They are very critical for advancing the SDGs, and we want to be working with them very closely. And I can assure you, the United Nations and I personally are very committed to this whole agenda. And we look forward to working much more with young people here in Thailand.
For working in Thailand for 2 years, what is the most issue for the SDG that you heard from Thai youth?
From the Thai youth?
Yes.
I hear a lot about issues of inequality. I hear a lot about issues of leaving no one behind. I hear a lot about digital transformation, issues around digital transformation and inclusion, and a little about climate change and how do you invest in making the economy much more inclusive and responsive for young people. So those are the kinds of issues that I pick up when I talk to young people.
Oh, I see. So it's very interesting. So maybe this kind of issue can be passing around the ambassador for their campaigns for this year.
Absolutely. I remember one young woman in my talk with her told me on climate change, on an issue of climate change, said that she's really scared of dying young because of climate change.
Wow.
Right? And that shook me. That really shook me, and I took that to heart because you suddenly begin to realize that young people are also taking climate change seriously, right? And it's given the complexity of the issue. At times it can generate a lot of fear amongst young people, and we need to address some of these fears and channel their energies in a way that they can contribute meaningfully.